Hey guys, Shadylikeatree here, and welcome into Reminiscing with Shady, episode 75. This is a special episode of Reminiscing with Shady. Later on here in the video, we're going to have Vince and Mermaid, two of my friends, with me. We're going to be discussing this game, Pokemon Red, Yellow, and Blue, in great detail. What you happen to be watching is you happen to be watching my Pokemon Blue cartridge. I plugged it into my Nintendo 64 with Pokemon Stadium, which will be a later Reminiscing with Shady. And I didn't want to put two Pokemon back to back, and I will, you can see how it kind of runs, and this was, I think, the best way I wanted to record this gameplay, because I have played this on my Nintendo 64 as well. So I'm using the Nintendo 64 controller, kind of emulating it on the Nintendo 64. But before we get to our discussion of the game, I wanted to kind of go over the usual stuff. Pokemon Red, Yellow, and Blue were developed by Game Freak, published by Nintendo. Red and Blue were released on September 28th, 1998 here in North America. Pokemon Yellow was a year later on October 19th, 1999, also developed by Game Freak and Nintendo. These were all for the Pokemon, the Nintendo Game Boy at the time, and this is probably the most hours of any game ever that I've logged in a game, and I think I talk about this in our conversation I have with Vince and Mermaid, but I've logged thousands and thousands and thousands of hours probably into this game. Anytime I go on a road trip, anytime I'm flying anywhere, I make sure to bring my Game Boy. I make sure to have my copy of Yellow or have my copy of Blue with me. And I usually, whenever I take a new trip, I start the game over and I have it finished by the time I get back. Back in the day, I didn't really have a whole lot of knowledge of Pokemon. I just kind of picked my 6 favorite that I thought were kind of sort of a balanced team that could help me defeat the Elite Four and not die rather quickly. So you'll kind of see the starts of a team I have here, and we're gonna kind of defeat Giovanni. We're gonna defeat Sabrina. We're gonna defeat Blaine and all his minions. So just kind of bear with me on that. You got a nice long episode here today, so I hope you guys certainly have enjoyed this, and I will definitely be doing Pokemon Stadium here probably within the next few episodes. So I'm gonna go ahead and get into it. This is my friend Vince and Mermaid. I will put something of theirs in the description. I will talk to them about what links they would like. If they would like links. If not, if there are no links down there, then that's because they didn't want me to include anything. But we just decided several weeks ago to discuss the games, and then we got around to recording this about a month and a half ago. So I hope you guys enjoy our rambling. I've also cut it down a little bit because it was kind of long. So I tried to fix as many parts as I possibly could. So without any further ado, this is Reminiscing with Shady, episode 75, Pokemon Red, Yellow, and Blue. Here's myself, Vince, and Mermaid. So, the first generation of Pokemon games. Yes. Vince, what is maybe your favorite memory of playing the first generation?
My favorite memory.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually thinking a lot in preparation for this, because I guess I'm a couple years younger than you,
Mm-hmm.
and Mermaid. So I guess I was more like, Pokemon was more like a fundamental part of my childhood.
Mm-hmm.
And I was trying to like separate how exactly I got into Pokemon, because it's just like I collected the cards, I watched the show, I played the games.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even remember like at what point in my life like the game came out. Like I want to say I was 5, but I don't think I had a Game Boy when I was 5, so it doesn't really line up.
Mm-hmm.
But like it was just a really big part of my childhood, and I can't really, it's all kind of just like there along with Dragon Ball Z and along with some of the other more like fundamental parts of what I grew up on.
Yeah, I would have been about, I don't know, 9 or 10 when it came out, especially with the cards, and I have a lot of stories involving the cards. But for me, the game has always been in the car, on the go, long road trips playing. Like when I would go with my mom every summer to some city, I would start a fresh game, and by the time we were back, I'd have it mostly beat, if not all the way beat, as much as you could with one Game Boy.
Right.
Um, and to me, you know, I think it's the game I probably played the most, just because I've not owned any other portable system. So if I want to take video games on the go with me, I have to take that, or I'm stuck with whatever I have on my phone. And to me, Pokemon is, especially Red, Yellow, and Blue, are far superior to anything you can buy at the Apple Store.
I agree.
So I choose to take that. But
Here,
um,
go around to Mermaid, and then we can come back to me because I don't really have.
yeah, Mermaid, what's your experience with the game?
Well, it's funny because Vince and I were talking about this the other day, and I definitely like the number one thing that I remember of like most everything else is the day I caught a Kangaskhan from the Safari Zone. Because
Aw.
it always escaped me, and I remember because I was at my grandparents' house and I just woken up, and my sister and I were crazy about Pokemon, so. We were sleeping in the same room, and I woke up, you know, and I was just playing Pokemon until she woke up, and I caught a Kangaskhan, and I was so excited that I like shook her and woke her up, and I'm like, I finally got one, you know, like, what did you do, you know? And it was just really exciting. I don't know why, but I really remember that, and catching a Chansey as well because they're really hard to catch. But
Hmm.
I mean, I could go through all the gyms and like not really have anything too memorable other than, you know, being excited about beating it, which, you know, everyone has that excitement. But yeah, for me, it's definitely catching Kangaskhan from Safari Zone.
Okay.
Now, since we're talking about Gen 1, Shady, do you own all three games from Gen 1?
Yes.
Okay, I also own all three games from Gen 1, and I think Mermaid.
I had red and my sister had blue, but we never had yellow. But I mean, like I know of yellow, so but that's how I got all my Pokemon. My sister and I had different versions, so we just
Right.
traded back and forth.
I think the only really like notable, memorable moment outside of something that I'll bring up later, but that's for later, was probably I was in the plane with my mom and I was fighting the champion. And we were just like the plane was just getting ready to touch off. So they said, turn off all your electronics. No one was like, you need to turn off your Game Boy. And I was like, but mom, I'm battling the champion. There's no saves right now. And she's like, well, too bad they told you to turn off the. And she like went and like took the batteries out of my Game Boy, like in the middle of the fight against
Oh man.
freaking Gary Oak, of course, because what else are you gonna name him? And so I guess it's not a positive memory. I was very not happy about that one. But that's like the most notable thing I remember.
Gary Oak. I
Gary
always
Oak.
named I always named the rival after my brothers because they were mean.
But see, Mermaid also never watched the show.
That's
Oh,
true.
We are watching the show currently.
Okay.
We just started it about a month ago.
Okay.
So
Be ready for the Feels train.
okay.
What episode are you guys on?
We're past all the feels points.
Oh,
Yeah, Butterfree's gone. Uh,
spoilers.
yeah, I know.
oh,
The spoiler train left the station a long time ago.
Okay. I'll be sure to remember to put that at the beginning.
Okay. But yeah, we're pretty far in. I think we're like 45 or 50 episodes in
oh
now.
yeah, that's right. I can't. I'm not really because I don't know. We watch one like almost one or two every day almost.
Yeah.
And so they kind of just blur together like one really big long movie, and you
When you're
don't,
just clicking next every time you
yeah,
finish one,
you
yeah.
don't
Yeah.
have to wait until the next week to watch one. So,
Are you guys gonna go on to like season 2 and
I
on?
don't know. We'll see.
Hmm.
Depends on how into it Mermaid is. I stopped watching. I don't know. I probably watched like the first 6 seasons or something, but
Yeah,
up to like 18 now.
yeah. I stopped watching for a while after I think the Indigo Islands, and then which was I think the next actual like the second gen,
Right.
and then I picked it up in the previous gen to the current gen, and I've been watching it for the last two gens. So
Okay.
I missed a big bunch of them, but
Right.
um, I
How about
digress.
the games?
Yes, I wanted to ask you, since we were on the topic kind of at the time of Kangaskhan, what your favorite Pokemon to have in the game was. And now this is before all the newfangled stuff with the EVs and the temperament and the genders and yada yada yada. Back then it was based on, you know, every Bellsprout was the same.
I don't know if that's actually true.
I feel like it was
Did
true.
you fact check that?
I did not fact check that, but I feel like it was exactly the same
Because they didn't have natures, they didn't have abilities.
Right.
I don't think they had EVs, but I think they did have IVs. So I think there was a little bit of spread between them, but it's not that important.
What's an IV? I don't know what an IV or an EV even
IV is yeah. So EVs you get by it's basically your like experience values that kind of reflect your stats. So you get EVs by beating Pokemon or doing super training in the new games, or using items like Carbos or Zinc or stuff like that. IVs are intrinsic of your Pokemon, and it's just they're generated when you encounter the Pokemon, and they can never be changed.
Okay,
But
yeah.
anyways, sorry, this is more technical than the game needs to be. Yes, there were IVs in Gen 1. We looked it up real quick.
There's only 4. It's like your basic attacks, defense, speed, and special.
Right, because they only had 4 stats back then.
Right.
Now we have 6. Or I guess they had 5 because HP was a stat as well. You get that, Shady?
Yeah, I'm just looking at it.
Okay.
Well, to me, they were all the same because I don't think it factored in that much. They may have had it, but...
No, and I mean, even for a casual playthrough, it doesn't factor in regardless.
Yeah. But anyway, moving on.
So we were talking about favorite Pokemon.
Yeah, so we were talking about favorite Pokemon. So what was the one Pokemon you used in almost every situation? I won't say that there's some that, you know, you used all the time, depending on the gym, but what Pokemon was your favorite to use and always was a part of your, you know, best 6 team?
Do you want to go? Or do you want me to go?
You can go first.
Or do you want to go first, Shady?
I mean, I can go first if you guys.
Well, I'll go first.
All right.
I guess this is an odd question because I was expecting what is your favorite Pokemon, but not necessarily what is your favorite Pokemon to use.
Mm-hmm.
I guess what is my favorite Pokemon to use for Gen 1 would probably be Alakazam.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Psychic was super
broken. Yeah, I will agree.
And Alakazam learns the big. Well, at least he learns Thunderbolt, Psychic,
Psybeam.
Psybeam. Yeah, he's a powerhouse.
And recover.
You're right.
Good night.
All right, Shady. I guess you're up.
For me, I always liked Gyarados because Gyarados just as a whole was OP.
I think,
and he learned Thunderbolt too. So if like I didn't catch a Pikachu for whatever reason or couldn't find one, then I could use him sort of as an impromptu electric type.
Right.
Because he would also be normally resistant to both water and flying, but yet with Thunderbolt, boom, Pidgeot's a 2-hit kill. But I like Gyarados a lot, but I also like to use Sandslash on like every team. Sandslash, because normally I'd rock like a water, fire, grass,
right,
psychic, and then the other 2 would be a combination of flying, rock / ground, and electric. So like a team that I would have would normally be like whatever my starter was. Say I almost always went with Charmander. So then I would have
as do most people.
Yeah, so then I would have like an Oddish, which would turn into Vileplume, and then I would have like I don't even know what water I would have like a Starmie, and then I would have Alakazam and Sandslash, and then either Pikachu or Pidgeot, depending on what I caught early in the game.
Okay.
But I like Sandslash because of Dig, and you can kill a lot of things with Dig very quickly, except for birds. Birds was the only thing, but with him you had things like Strength and Slash and Fury Swipes, which could kill the bird. But Dig was a one-hit move against just about anyone who was ground, fighting, grass, and normal. It was like a one-hit kill if you were powerful enough.
Okay, Mermaid, you're up.
I'm gonna be playing Jane, and honestly, I always stuck with my starter, and which was always Charmander. So usually whenever I went into a battle, I'd have my Charmander, Charizard. But aside from being plain Jane, I guess Articuno is one that I always had in my party because I was more like this Pokemon's my best friend, and
Yeah,
so I always stuck with like the one that's been with me the whole time or the one that I was connected to the most. And I don't know, it's just like when I was younger, the whole idea of elements and stuff. I always had fire and ice. But I always had like all of the elements in my party. So honestly, it was like when I was able to get all three starters, it was all three starters and then all three legendary birds. And that was basically my party aside from Mewtwo, which was way in the end when it was over.
yeah.
But honestly, I always have like a wide variety of elements or types rather in my party because you never know what you're going to be up against. So you're always ready.
I think unlike you, Shady, I didn't really replay the games a whole lot. I mean, I think I played red version, I picked Charmander, I picked I played blue version, I picked Squirtle, but basically other than that, I played them the same way and didn't really ever go back after that
Yeah,
point.
I
So I guess you have a lot more like I guess this is a more weighted question for you who've replayed the game a bunch of times than for us who's kind of just stuck to beating it once and then trying to catch them all and then battling friends or whatever.
yeah, I rarely ever use the legendary birds.
I also used Articuno a lot.
I found often that yeah, I just never went out of my way to go try to catch them.
Hmm.
And you don't even have to go out of your way that much to
No, you
catch him.
don't.
I just felt like, well, I could catch him now, or I could go kill some gym leaders and then come back.
Right.
Because, they were, what, level 50, I think they were?
I think so.
And,
40 or 50.
I think they were all 50. And I think that, I always struggled to, because I aligned myself to have type advantage, that I always struggled to get my guys to be able to get to the level 60s and the level 50s to be able to even challenge the Elite Four to be able to level up enough to beat them all.
Hmm.
But I just never took the time. I mean, I would when the only time I 100%ed a game was my blue save. I actually have a special copy of Pokemon Blue that I don't because I have two copies of it. I have one that I use to just um have that save, and then I have another one that I play with and take with me and stuff. But yeah, I other than that one, I really never caught them and never used them.
Right.
Yeah,
I can see how it get old.
yeah,
And yes, Mermaid looked it up. You're correct. They are level 50.
okay, sounds good.
Now, before we move on, I guess you've probably gone over what your favorite Pokemon is, but Mermaid and I, of course, have not on your channel. So can
I
we just do a
I have
quick
not I
roundabout?
have not said because it's kind of obvious, and I have not mentioned this Pokemon yet.
Well, Ernie's not a Pokemon, so it's not obvious to me.
Why don't you guys go ahead first with your favorite Pokemon?
Sure. I like my favorite Pokemon, and probably my second in general, like since we've added like 600 more. My favorite Pokemon from Gen 1 is Gengar, and I've always liked the whole Ghastly line.
Mm-hmm.
The ghost Pokemon in the anime were really cool. I think they're portrayed really well. And I just always like the way that like there's only one Pokemon in the entire typing. It's just the Ghastly line. Those are the only ghost Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
And they're kind of just shrouded in mystery the whole time, and you don't really know like what they're doing or how to beat them or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
I like all of the cute ones.
Well, that's not.
Like Togepi, all the fairy
That's
ones.
not even a Gen 1 Pokemon. You need a better answer than that.
Right, okay. Let's see. Actually, probably my favorite Gen 1 Pokemon, and I still use it a lot even now, is Magneton. He is a beast.
And I'll never understand why you like it.
I know, I don't know why. It's just like overpowering. I don't know.
Well, my favorite Pokemon is a stupid one, but it's Pikachu.
It is a
I like
stupid one, Shady.
Pikachu. No, it's not stupid. I
I
love Pikachu.
I just like him because he's electric, and to me, there were not very many fun electric types,
I'll give you that.
if that makes any
Yeah.
sense. Because like with water, for me, you've got the Squirtle line, you've got Starmie and Staryu, you've got the Horsey Seadra line, um, you've
It
got
wasn't sorry. It wasn't pointed out to me until recently. Actually, we have like a school wide Pokemon league where we appoint gym leaders and stuff like that I've been a part of.
yeah, I had
Um,
noticed that you play that, and I think that's awesome.
yeah, and it's really cool, and we have like set locations and all that stuff. It's really cool, and we make badges and all that jazz. But anyways, not the point. Um, and this is for the entire University of Santa Cruz, University of California, Santa Cruz. By the way, people thinking I'm like a high schooler. This is a school with 14,000 people. Anyways, and it's amazing that like water types there's like 33 fully evolved water type Pokemon. So that's not including like Squirtle, Wartortle, Blastoise. That's just counting Blastoise because that's the final stage of that Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
There's like 33 of them,
Yeah.
and it's the type with the most Pokemon in it, and it's always weird because I guess I've always just ignored most of them.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a ton of water types out there.
Yeah, but you got like Shelter and Cloyster and
Right.
Krabby and Kingler and
Magikarp,
Magikarp,
Gyarados,
Gyarados. Yeah.
Seaking, Goldeen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's a ton of them.
Yeah, and then to me, there's a bunch of cool fire types too, because you've got Magmar's cool. You got the whole Charmander line. Um, you know, uh, Rapidash and Ponyta are good. Um,
Vulpix, Ninetales.
Vulpix, Ninetales, and then with grass, it's kind of the same way. Oddish Vileplume is good. You've got the Bulbasaur line, you've got the Bellsprout line, I think is pretty cool. But to me, like, I don't like Voltorb and Electrode. I think they're dumb. Other than say Pikachu and Zapdos, I can't think of any Gen 1s that are really that great.
Besides Magneton.
I don't really like them either because they bother
Yeah.
me.
To me, Grass always seemed really boring because Grass didn't really have a super move.
Right,
If
yeah.
you get what I'm saying, like with
Because
Fire, you have
Solar Beam was just kind of lackluster compared to the other
Solar Beam
moves.
was lackluster, but I mean, other than that, like you have like Razor Leaf, which is kind of in Gen 1 it was broken, but
Yeah.
after that it's not very good. And then you just have like Leech Seed and the Stun Spores, Sleep Powder, stuff like that. They don't really.
Yeah.
They're more of like support typing.
Yeah, I mean you had Giga Drain, but that was very limited because I think you only get 5 HP, or 5 PP of that.
Right, and it was really weak as well.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to say real quick is that you cited Gyarados as your favorite like usable Pokemon, and I think Gyarados was really disappointing to me coming from someone who watched the show along with playing the games. Because like you see Twister and it's this like giant water cyclone, and you see Dragon Rage and it's this like another giant water cyclone. Like all the Gyarados' eyes are glowing red and everything.
Yeah.
And you use them in the game and they're just really weak. They're really weak.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I like Dragon Rage because it always does 40.
It always does 40.
It always does 40 damage. So if you're at a type disadvantage, you can still win because you're going to be able to chip away at 40 constantly.
Right.
And you're going to be able to kill that Pokemon no matter what, even if if your water moves don't do anything.
And on that note, also like Fire Spin was like one of the most disappointing things in my like entire childhood.
Hyper Beam, Hyper Beam was very.
Hyper Beam was cool though. It was a one-shot kill, and then you just had to take a turn to chill out.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, it was
Fire Spin was like the coolest thing in the show, and they keep saying it's everybody's ultimate move, and then use it in the game and it does like 5 damage.
Yeah, and Fire Blast was kind of lackluster too.
I don't know. I thought Fire Blast was cool.
I felt like it was cool, but it just didn't do as much damage as I thought it ought to.
Yeah. Okay, so did you want to talk about anything else, Shady?
I did.
I have another.
Okay. I do have some more stuff, but go ahead with
go first.
Your topic.
No, I can come later.
Oh, okay.
I got
it. So I wanted to ask, what was your usual team? Like, if I said, okay, make a team using Gen 1 guys, who are your 6 Pokemon that you're going to carry out there?
Do you want a realistic answer based on actual experiences?
Yes.
Because you're not gonna like it.
I'm probably going to hate it, but that's okay.
It was Snorlax, 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 Mewtwo.
Now, how did you do that?
What?
Because
Lots of
the
training.
game was very broken. Okay, Mermaid.
Mermaid, what's your team? I guess.
I told you wouldn't like it.
Well, I said earlier that I have like one of every element, but before I was able to get like all three starters. It was like a Charmander, like Lapras, I think was in my team forever, and I always had a grass type. I think it was like Weeping Bell I had. So it was just like in general, like I had one of every type, but it was always one of my starters. And then something that would use Surf. I think Machoke was always in my team too.
Snorlax uses Surf.
It took him forever to become a champ, but Machoke was
Trade him.
always in my team. Yeah, that's probably why I never got Machamp. It's because I could never train him. But so yeah, my six would probably be Charmander, Weeping Bell, Machoke. Yeah. Oh, Fearow. Actually, I liked Fearow a lot. I don't know why, but that was my bird Pokemon at the time. So
Okay.
that's
Now, did you guys use fly as much as I did? Because I felt like if you didn't have a bird with you to fly from city to city, you were
walking.
walking
Yeah,
a
no,
lot.
nobody walks anymore. Walking after you beat like the Saffron City gym where you're actually able to use fly after
I
it.
think you can use
Actually, I don't
fly
think it's a
after
gym
Surge.
Surge.
I think Surge is what allows you, but you don't get
No.
fly until after Celadon. You have to
Right.
use cut and go north and then go across and then you can get the fly, which was like the first thing I did after I went there. It was like I went to Celadon like right away to go get fly, and I didn't do anything else until I had fly.
Okay.
But I used it quite a bit. One of the other questions I had, or kind of one of the things I wanted to talk about, is what was your favorite gym to fight, and then were there any gyms that you always found to be difficult for whatever reason?
Do you have an answer?
My favorite gym was with Misty because, like we said earlier, I didn't actually watch the show, so my idea of Misty was like, girl power. Like I kind of admired her, I guess. She was always like so witty, and I don't know, I guess I admired her. So that was probably my favorite gym to go through. The worst one is what's the one in Lavender Town with like ghost Pokemon or psychic Pokemon? There's a gym.
There's no gym in Lavender Town, but there's Sabrina.
Yeah.
The psychic gym.
Yeah, Sabrina, the one that was harder than ever. It took many tries.
I guess they set you up. They set you up poorly for that because they have the fighting gym right next to it, and you get you get your Hitmonlee, your Hitmonchan, and they just throw you into a gym where they just get destroyed.
Yeah.
I'm really struggling with this one. I like.
Okay, well,
Eric.
I'll answer.
Okay.
You like Eric? He was
Erica,
the
grass gym.
yeah. She was probably my favorite to beat just because I always picked Charmander and like you could mow through her pretty quickly, pretty effortlessly.
Right.
But for me, the one that always I struggled with was Koga. Just he would just beat me senseless.
I was trying to think because we're watching the show and Ash just beat Koga like 10 episodes back or whatever. He's not to blame yet.
Okay, yeah.
But I can't even remember besides Venomoth what Pokemon
he had.
I guess
he had coughing, wheezing, Venomoth, Venonat, and I think like a Grimer or a Muck. And so he had that poison. He had the poison thing down, but what made him really hard was that his guys were kind of really much higher level than the fifth gym. I'm blanking on who the fifth gym was.
Sabrina,
yeah.
Is Sabrina?
Or wait,
yeah, because Erica's the fourth gym leader.
Yeah, she's 5 and then he's 6. Is that right?
Right.
Okay.
right, and then
And then
Blaine
Blaine
7.
7 and then
Um,
Geo.
I don't really remember ever struggling on a gym leader. I think, I mean, just because I picked Charmander too as in my first playthrough of Red, which I played through first, and so then it's Brock because screw you, game, for making the first gym leader type that beats fire.
Mm-hmm.
And you just have like Scratch, and it's terrible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But anyways, um,
I
I
always
guess I'll
thought
go
Koga was hard too because of the invisible walls, but I eventually
right.
memorized it. But the first few times, it was just torture trying to get to him.
Yeah, I think Sabrina's gym is more annoying in that aspect because it's just like
Yeah.
pick a portal,
Good
feel
luck.
unlucky. Yeah. Um, Lieutenant Surge I always thought was really cool. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at his picture right now. These sunglasses are really awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and like the trash can gym is pretty notorious for something. I don't even know what's so notorious about it, the trash can puzzle, but it is.
Yeah.
Um, but I always liked Erica. I don't know. I liked her more in Gen 2. And I think Koga was definitely one of the biggest obstacles of Gen 2 because he's in the Elite Four in Generation 2.
Okay.
And he spams minimize, and it's terrible.
Yeah, that's right. So I had one more question, and this is leading into my final thoughts on the game and kind of my final story on the game that I have. Did you want to go first, or did you with your?
I'll go last.
Okay.
It's cool.
So my question is to you: where was the oddest, strangest, most different place you ever played the game?
Um, I guess I didn't really play as much on car trips, or at least I don't remember it. Maybe I just didn't really go on very many long car trips when I was younger. Um, but I do remember I used to bring my Game Boy to the park. We had a very large park, and one of the other memories was that I remember meeting a kid at a softball game. Both of us were just watching the softball game at the park, and he offered a trade with me. He was like, "Do you want to trade?" And he traded me a Mew.
Hmm.
So that I got a Mew at a softball game when I was really young at a park that I didn't care about.
Okay.
But so I guess that's like the oddest place, I guess, because I was like, I don't even know, like I wasn't watching the game at all. I was just sitting there playing Pokemon.
Uh huh.
So I guess that's mine.
Mermaid, what about you?
Probably the most different place I can think of is at my grandparents' house. They have like a lot of land, and I used to spend a lot of time outside. So, like on nice days, they're like, "Well, go outside and do something." I take my Game Boy out and like go up and sit like late in like a field area or like by the garden or something and play Pokemon. I don't really think a lot of people do that. That's probably the oddest place that I played Pokemon at.
So the general answer is outside.
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 Okay.
Well, you know what? You don't go outside,
I
so
know.
that's different for you.
Yeah, who plays video games outside?
I do.
So
JD?
mine is actually an inside place, but it's a pretty cool inside place. When uh when I was in the 8th grade, I had brought my Game Boy with me to Washington D.C. Because I was a loser who had no friends and really no one to talk to on the bus. And because of the way our schedule worked out, it ended up that being that we were going to visit the White House on the first day, which was kind of odd because it's supposed to be like in the middle of the trip. So we literally drove 16 hours, dumped our bags at the hotel, changed, and then went to the White House. But this was in like early spring, so it was still kind of cold out and it was like jacket weather. Well, I left my Game Boy and my jacket, and I took my jacket with me to the White House. And being on the bus for as long as you had been, I had to use the bathroom. So my story is that I beat Giovanni in the bathroom of the White House.
Nice.
It's perfect. And that was going to answer not the question that I was originally going to ask, but one that I was going to follow up with which is, do you play Pokemon while using the bathroom?
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Now, see, Mermaid just looked at me like, who does that?
Oh yeah.
And is now glaring at me. Because I know a lot of people that will bring their Game Boys into the bathroom with them.
There's a drawer in my bathroom right now that has like my Game Boy, I think Red and like King Griffey Jr.'s Softball Slam and
I
another
guess
game are in this drawer. Like my
it
backup
was.
Game Boy is in this drawer for that specific reason.
I think it was always too intimate to me. I wanted to take care of business
Well, see,
in
yeah,
private
yeah.
with distraction free.
Well, see, sometimes it's like you feel like you're done, but then you're not. So I always like to give it a few minutes. And while I was doing that, I would matriculate my guy down the field a little bit, as it were,
Okay.
and get a little bit more done. But I'm very excited and curious to see your last question and hear about your last
Um,
question.
my question was, did you ever cheat in in Pokemon? Because
Yes,
I think I put in more time after I found out about the missing no glitch, which I
yes,
still to this day have no idea how people found out about that glitch as much as they did. Because when I was like 6 years old, I mean, we weren't reading the like Game Informer or whatever Pokemon. What the heck was that Nintendo magazine called?
yeah. It was like Nintendo Mag or something like
Yeah,
that.
it might have
Nintendo
just been Nintendo
Power. It was
magazine,
like Nintendo
Nintendo Power.
Power. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
like I didn't have the guidebook for Red and Blue or anything, and I don't think it was documented in the guidebook.
it
Maybe it
wasn't.
was. But
Um,
I have
there's
no idea how people found out about that or how I came across it. I remember my friend telling me about it, and I didn't believe him.
Yeah,
And
I had that same reaction too. And what's interesting to me is in an age when there wasn't, internet like there is today.
right,
I mean, when I first started playing, I didn't have internet access.
yes,
Even though the internet had been invented and had been
no,
around for a little
we didn't
while,
have internet.
I didn't have internet in the home was virtually non-existent.
Right,
Um, I remember being told about that, and I'm like, no, I don't believe you. And then doing it, and then being like, whoa, that's amazing. Because you could have literally unlimited Master Balls, and catching a Pokemon was so much easier.
right. You could
Catching,
also have
and that's part of the reason why I would wait till the very end to catch the legendary birds. Because bloop one Master Ball, you're good to go. You don't got to worry about trying to knock him down and not
right,
killing him and that saving nonsense. No, getting the other Snorlax, boom, bloop one Master Ball, you're good to go.
right, and you can also when you asked me what how I got so many Snorlaxes was because when you do the missing no glitch, it will throw two Pokemon at you. That is dependent on something. It's different for like every cartridge ish. But one of my Pokemon that you could find alongside the missing no was Snorlax for me.
Yeah,
So
I do remember that. Yeah,
I had an army, and those Pokemon, those two Pokemon that you could find there, were also over level 100. So I
right.
had my army of level 255 Snorlaxes
Yeah.
that were pretty
See,
cool.
I remember doing that glitch, and then this isn't really cheating per se, but to completely avoid the Seafoam Islands, I would fly to Pallet Town and surf south
Right.
to go to Cinnabar
Yeah, you
Island.
could also do that.
I don't know if that's cheating or not, but I used to go the normal way the first few times I played it, and then I realized, hey, there's no reason here to get blocked in. They're not blocking me off here. I can just walk down there and go surfing, and then just catch the wave south, and don't
Right.
have to deal with the nonsense that was the Seafoam Islands, which was my least favorite part of the game.
hmm
Um,
I also did the cloning glitch a lot. The you
See, I
could
don't
like
even know how to do
unplug.
that.
You have to you trade a Pokemon and then you unplug the link cable in the middle of it, and
Hmm.
then you get to so the person who basically the person receives the Pokemon and you retain it. So whatever Pokemon they offered is gone forever, but you now have two copies of one person's Pokemon.
Hmm.
So I cloned my Mew a bunch of times that I got from the kid in the park, and so I had a bunch of Mews, and then I cloned a bunch of other Pokemon. So I had a nice little army.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now
Mermaids nodding, and
I
shooting
would
at
use
me.
the missing no glitch to get a big bunch of rare candy, and then I'd level up all my guys to
Right.
100. I would do that too.
Yeah, one of my little, I guess, trivia is what you can call it. I never in Red or in first generation in general, I never raised a Pokemon all the way to level 100 by
Hmm.
hand.
No.
I would always just get rare candies and just level them up that way after a while.
Yeah, I would raise them to the point where I could beat the Elite Four, but then I would after that and after I'd captured Mewtwo, I would just go do the missing no glitch and level all my guys up to 100, and then
Mhm.
just go destroy the Elite Four a big old bunch of times just for
Pillage
fun.
the entire
Pillage
Kanto
the
region,
entire Kanto region. That's
burn
right.
down Pallet Town.
Yeah.
Mermaid's just been shaking her head in shame at me this whole time, so I guess she didn't.
Of course I don't cheat.
So did you even know about the missing note?
Yes.
Do you remember it now?
No, yes, I do remember now. Because when
Okay.
you said that, I was like, I don't actually know what you're talking about. And then when you're talking about duping a bunch of items, basically getting 99 Master
Right.
Balls and whatnot, yes, I do know about it. I didn't. The only way I found out about it was my friends, like in elementary school, were really hype on.
Right. I have no idea
Like
how
they were
that
so
stuff
hype
spread.
about it, and so that's how I found out. I don't think I actually ever did it, but yeah, I know about it. But of course, I don't cheat.
And then in the past, oh, I don't know. One of the things you said that you were like a loner and had no friends and played your Game Boy on the trip to Washington D.C. Um, when I was a senior in high school, the entire varsity football team decided that they were all going to bring their Game Boys and all play Pokemon First Gen together. So
Now,
I guess
I do
that
have
was
a
kind of
similar story to that. Um, my friends and I in high school, because I actually became quite popular in high school, as opposed to middle school for whatever reason, probably because I was the biggest kid there, and like no one thought that they could beat me up. But um, my sophomore year we started this thing when I had some friends who were seniors that year, where they would all the 1st of May they would start a brand new game. This is actually how I acquired my second copy of Blue, was that they
yeah.
would all start a fresh game, and then they would on the final senior day, they used to get out early, like around I think like 11 or something like that. They would then go to somebody's house and they would have like a round robin tournament, and then the two people who had the most wins or whatever would battle each other and be the senior grand Pokemon champion. And that
Oh,
was a
that's cool.
thing that was started when I was a sophomore, and I was runner up my senior year. I got beat by this really big nerd who had like 4 or 5 psychic Pokemon who, as we've already discussed, were way overpowered.
Right. They were
And
super broken.
he just destroyed my team of, I think I had like Pikachu and Onyx and Gyarados and Charizard. I forget, Vileplume or someone, I think. Um, but yeah, it was just unhealthy. The amount of time that we spent during the last month of the school year playing that game, because when you're a senior, when I was in school, it was basically that you were done. I mean, you were
Right.
checked out mentally. You didn't have a whole lot of classwork left. I had my senior year, I had 5 or 6 study halls, so I played from literally the time I got up to the time I went to bed, and just and we couldn't cheat. That was the thing, is you were not allowed to use rare candies on your guys. You could catch anyone with any.
Oh,
You could have an unlimited amount of master balls, but you could not use any. You could not use the rare candy cheat. You could use rare candies that you got from the game naturally, but you could not
right.
use the cheat to make your guys all level 100.
And you know what? Sorry, just to cut back to the very beginning of our little call. The more I think about it, the more I think there were EVs in Gen 1. Because do you remember? I remember people would always be like, "No, don't use rare candies to level up your Pokemon. Your Pokemon are stronger when you level them up in battle
I
than if you
remember
use rare
feeling like
candies."
that, but I don't remember ever proving it.
And the reason behind that is because of EVs. Because you don't get EVs when you use rare candies, because you get EVs by beating other Pokemon or using items, like I said.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I remember hearing that in the Gen 1 days, and who knows, I heard so many things that weren't true about Gen 1 because I was like 6, right?
Yeah.
Um,
And it could have just been a feature of the rare candy, not necessarily the fact that they had EVs, but that rare candies gave you 2/3 of the
well,
power that a
yeah,
normal
yeah.
level or whatever it would have been.
hmm But EVs are what determine that, how much you get per level up. Anyways, sorry, not relevant, but I just wanted to throw that out there because that was one of those other things I remember hearing that I actually thought was just stupid for like I was like, no, you're just making it up. You just, like emotional attachment to your Pokemon, blah blah blah. Like don't, battle and don't use items, blah blah blah. And then more recently, when I started getting into competitive Pokemon, I found out that, oh yeah, it actually is more beneficial to level your Pokemon up via battling than via rare candies.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there was one more. Oh, uh, I was going back to my senior year of high school because that's when I found out that you could actually catch Mew in Pokemon Red and Blue and Yellow.
Now, how do you do that? Because I've never managed to do it.
It's a glitch.
It's post game, isn't it?
It's not intentional. It's not post game actually. It's in Cerulean City, or north. It's north of Nugget Bridge, but it's a very glitch heavy. It's like a 5 or 6 step process, and you get a level 7 Mew as the result of it.
Like, do you have to
And
throw a ball at it, or can you?
yeah, you do. You have to manually catch it. You fight it at level 7. It only knows pound. And it's very, very hard to catch, but it wasn't intended to. It's not like a scripted battle. It's not a battle you're ever supposed to have. But I mean, the Pokedex entry is correct for it. It's not like it's just like it's a Mew sprite over something else.
Mm-hmm.
It's like actual in-game legitimate Mew.
And it learns like all the psychic moves it should and
right.
everything.
It learns everything it should.
Hmm.
So that was something I did more recently.
I need to try that.
And that
then.
was cool.
I never tried that either.
You'll have to send me the way to do that. I want to try that later.
No problem.
But I did
and
want.
Like I said, you just need to get to Cerulean City. Like you can literally do it like I don't know, an hour into a new game. You kind of have to either get really lucky with some Pokeballs because you need to catch an Abra. But so you need to either catch a Pokeball or get really lucky on catching an Abra, or you need a Wigglytuff that's really over leveled for the time. Mm-hmm. But anyways, irrelevant.
But the last thing I wanted, kind of on that same topic, is I heard a rumor or something that Missing No was actually supposed to be a Pokemon that doesn't exist, which is the Kangaskhan baby.
I've never heard that.
I had heard that the reason that it was supposedly that there was supposed to be a Pokemon that was going to be Kangaskhan's baby, because how do you get Kangaskhan and have the baby? The baby never grows up. That makes no sense. But for whatever reason, the anime guys decided to remove it, and they were already developing the game at that point. So right. Then they had this code, and no way to get rid of it, and that was how the kind of Missing No came about, was that they gave it that specific spot if you had to do that specific thing, and also that if you catch it, it becomes a Kangaskhan.
It does not become a Kangaskhan if you catch it.
It does, though.
Does it? I've caught a bunch of them.
I've caught some, and they've become Kangaskhan's if you level them up.
I guess I've never leveled them up because aren't they already like level?
No, the level 0s are not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, cool. If you catch a level 0, it becomes a Kangaskhan. But yeah, which is kind of an interesting theory. But I mean, again.
Weird. Well, I mean, there's the whole. I mean, talking Pokemon conspiracy theory, we'll be here for hours. But there's the whole Kangaskhan. Was like Cubone and Kangaskhan are related.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If a Marowak dies, then it becomes, or if a Cubone, what is it? Like a Cubone, if the Kangaskhan dies, then it becomes a Marowak.
Mm-hmm.
Blah blah blah. Sorry, my remains looking at me confused again, so I'm trying to explain this to her.
The whole Cubone story is so sad.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
I always just figured it was like a testing sprite.
Yeah, or something like that.
Because there were supposed to be extras. Togepi was supposed to be a Gen 1 Pokemon. I feel like there were a couple others that were supposed to be. Meryl, I think, was supposed to be Generation 1, and then was bumped into Gen 2.
Yeah, and then there's some Gen 1 Pokemon that got evolved forms or pre-forms that I feel like could have been there. The Pichus,
right.
the
Pichu. I mean,
the Electakids or whatever.
Yeah, Elekid got Electabuzz got a pre-evolution in Gen 3 and then a post-evolution in Gen 4 into Electivire.
Yeah, so
they've done all kinds of stuff. But yeah, do you remember? I'm just like on the rumor train now because I'm remembering all these like rumors that I heard when I was younger, like when on the Pokemon hype train, with Meryl being an evolution of Pikachu named Pikablue.
Yeah, like I thought that was the stupidest thing ever. When someone, I remember straight up, I was in the like 7th grade or 6th grade, and someone had told me that, and I was like. Yeah. You are stupid. I straight up told that person they were stupid.
Well, because Meryl was in what I think it was the second Pokemon movie. with Pichu and Meryl, and that was the movie with Lugia as like the main. Because the first movie was Mewtwo, the second movie was like Lugia and Ho-Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that came out before Gold and Silver came out. So it included, I think, the only Gen 2 Pokemon it included Slowking. I remember Slowking.
Yeah.
And he could talk.
Yeah.
That was weird. But anyways,
talking
and
Pokemon
then
are very weird.
Pichu,
finding that out.
Pichu and Meryl were the only other two Pokemon, and Togepi were the only other Pokemon that were included. So it was kind of logical. You're saying, well, that's clearly Pikachu's baby form, so this other Pokemon must be related to Pikachu as well.
But they look nothing alike.
They both have squiggly tails.
They have squiggly tails and they have the cheek thing, and we all know that they have recycled Pokemon time and time again.
Yes.
They've taken half of one and shoved it on half of another, and
now they're using appliances.
So
as of Gen 4.
Yeah, I don't know. I never bought into that one. I was immediately like, yeah, that's dumb.
I was on the hype train for that one.
I'm all excited. I am all for, making baby versions of more Pokemon. So they can go ahead and make more baby forms.
You were probably one of those people, like, I knew all these girls that they were like, they never let their cute Pokemon evolve. And then
she still doesn't.
No.
And then they would have like a level like 60 Charmander, and then I would come through with like my level 50 Blastoise, and I would like one hit it, and they were like, but my level was higher, and I'm like, but he's a baby.
Yeah,
I strategically did that a lot, was not evolving my guy until after they learned all the moves, because like in the instance of Charmander, I think you learn Flamethrower like 10 levels early as opposed to Charizard versus Charmander. And I know Hydro Pump is 10, Solar Beam I think is like 15. I know Bulbasaur learns it at like 42 versus I think like 58 or 65 or something like that.
Usually it's like minus 10 levels,
yeah, give or take a few levels. But yeah, that was I always did that, and then right around like level 50 or 40 or whatever, boom, I'd evolve them. Like they'd be their middle evolution for like one level, and then I'd let them go ahead and evolve, and then they'd have their move set, and then boom, they were good to go.
I have one last question for you, Shady.
Okay.
Given that, okay, so you and I watched the show, correct?
Mm-hmm.
I kind of am assuming. Okay. Mermaid did not watch the show, but just in general, because it doesn't really matter that much. Did you find out at any point in time that you've been like saying a Pokemon's name incorrectly for like a large amount of time? I mean,
yes,
we were just watching the show. Like I said, we've been watching the show, and I've always said Magneton, like with a long O at the end, and then found out recently that it's Magneton, and they say that in the show, and it's just like always being Magneton.
Yeah, I used to say Pidgeot's name wrong. I used to call him Pidgeot.
They do say Pidgeot in the show.
Do they? Okay, so I'm saying it wrong now.
Yeah, and see, there's something there, because I did the same thing. I used to say Pidgeot and then corrected it to Pidgeot. And then when we went back and watched the show, they're like, "Oh, a Pidgeot," and I was like, "What?" So at some point they changed that, and it's somewhat ambiguous. Another one that I said wrong, I always said Raikou for the legendary dog in second gen, and it's Raikou, just like Raichu.
Yeah. No, I didn't do any of the. I didn't really watch much of second gen, but I think other than Pidgeot or Pidgeot, I don't think there was any that I really screwed up. I'm trying to recall, and I'm like running through them all in my head, like in the numerical order.
There's been a bunch that I've kind of corrected myself. I mean, Mermaid's been beating herself up because she's finding out that she said a few of their names wrong.
What are some of them that might click for me?
She said Raichu. I remember that one.
Yeah, Raichu.
Do you remember any of the other ones? All I know is that if I had never watched the show, there's no way I'd pronounce Gyarados right.
I was just thinking.
No, that was actually one. I called him Gyarados. That's right.
heard
the
I
first
about.
couple
guess.
times, and then Gyarados shows up, I think, in like episode 15 or
It's
20.
pretty earlier, yeah,
Yeah,
15. Somewhere in there is the
15-ish,
SS
yeah.
hands.
And then boom, it's Gyarados, and you're like, oh, well, that's how you say that. Um,
Oh,
I
here,
can't think of anybody else.
I
Oh,
got
I say Jengar. I said that for a while.
Jenga.
Jengar. And I didn't actually realize I was saying it wrong until Vince is like, "Oh, you mean Gengar?" And I was like, "Oh, whatever, okay, it's your world."
I mean, it happened to everybody at some point in time.
Yeah.
That's the point I'm trying to make here.
Yeah, and
One
then
more thing on the
okay,
rumor mill. Sorry,
go
I'm
ahead.
remembering all these rumors. The level 100 Machamp pushing the truck next to the SS Hand for a Mew. Did you hear
I
that
never
one?
heard that one.
There's a truck. I'm surprised because this one's really popular. There's a truck behind the fence in the SSN area in wherever Lieutenant the Viridian City is where Lieutenant Surge is. Yeah, there's a truck there, and there's a guy in another portion of the city complaining that his Machoke is unable to push the truck with strength. A different truck. And there's always been this rumor that if you had a level 100 Machamp, you could push the truck next to the SSN. If you had to make the SSN depart without going on it, which is possible. And then you can surf over to the truck and you could push it, and underneath it would be a level 1 or a Mew. Have you ever heard that rumor?
I had not. No.
Did you
Wow, that
did you
one's
ever
really-
try that?
No, because I thought it was stupid, and of course it's not true. But I know, I mean, even talking to people at college recently, I've found a lot of people who still were like, no, man, I never tried it, but I mean, I know a guy who did it and it's real. Like, that was a really big one.
Oh wow.
So yeah, sorry, that was my nostalgia rumor mill.
Huh.
Nostalgia mill.
Yeah. Well, I'm out of questions, guys. Is there anything else you'd like to say about Pokemon Red, Yellow, or well, I guess we can conclude on which one was our favorite. I don't think we've said that yet.
Of the versions or
Of-
Pokemon?
yeah.
Of the versions.
Oh, red. Every day of the week, red version. That's my jam.
I think I liked Yellow the best because I could get all my favorite ones in that one.
See, I disliked Yellow. I'm one of the only people I've ever met that didn't like Yellow. I didn't like Pikachu. I didn't like having Pikachu follow me.
Yeah.
I mean, even in like Heart Gold where they reintroduced that mechanic, I don't like the Pokemon following me. I didn't like being Ash as opposed to like being Red, I guess. I'm gonna go with Red. Red
Okay.
was the first one I got. I liked Charizard being on the cover. I can't remember if I liked the start screen with Charizard on it better. It was cooler instead of having Blastoise there.
Charizard's pretty cool.
Charizard's cool.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Well, yeah, I appreciate you guys coming on and doing this episode with me. I know it's been a while since you and I've done a video together, Vince. But thanks for coming on, Vince and Mermaid. Hey guys, Shadylikeatree here again, and thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate it. I hope you certainly have enjoyed this episode of Reminiscing with Shady. If you've made it thus far, please leave me a like and share your thoughts on Pokemon Red, Yellow, and Blue. I know this hour is kind of entering the 1 hour mark, but I wanted to just kind of talk about these games in a whole and with other people and really do these games justice because of the amount of time that I've kind of logged into these videos and put into these games. So I certainly hope that you guys have enjoyed everything that we've put together in this video, and I'm going to get out of here. I'll let the rest of Blaine's battle kind of end here, and I make quick work of Rapidash and Arcanine. It's actually a pretty funny Arcanine battle because he just uses super potions on him, and then I just do more damage than the super potion can replenish, and then sure enough, slowly 4 hits plus some super potions on the Arcanine's point, and I am victorious. But again, thank you guys for watching. This has been Reminiscing with Shady, episode 75, Pokemon Red, Yellow, and Blue for the Game Boy and Game Boy Color. Take care, guys, and I'll see you next time.